Well, hello, hello, my beautiful Taurians. How are you, my gorgeous ones? So, that headache that won't go away, that tummy ache that won't go away, that anxiety that's keeping you up all night. Yeah, that one that has you running like a chicken with his head cut off the next day until you're so depleted. Yeah, all that is not going to go away, my darlings, until you start communicating your truth. So, welcome everyone. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Cindy. I am the modern day spiritual advisor. I use multiple modalities, including tarot and astrology, mediumship, hypnotherapy, all kinds of stuff to help you on your path. So, my beautiful ones, I apologize for getting these out late. I blew up 2 mics. Hopefully I don't blow up this one. So, and I know it's got to be me because I had a mic and you saw the Libra video was kind of shaky and the spotty and the volume was all wrong. And so I opened up a new mic, brand new out of the box, and it worked for about 2 seconds and then it just did the same thing. And now I'm using another mic and it seems to be doing fine. So I don't think it's any of my hardware or David, my assistant, and I took about 5 or 6 hours yesterday to try to figure it out. So I think we're done. I think this is okay. Now I can't get my cursor to work on my thing, so I'm going to have to do it this way. I think you can see my cursor now. So I have been having a lot of technical difficulties. And I don't know if you know anything about Aquarians, but we can mess up electronics like really badly. I've blown up phones and laptops and all kinds of stuff. So enough about me. Let's talk about what's going on with you. So I'm only going to go over the highlights of what's going on. If you want to go in depth and understand the houses and the aspects and what's coming and what you're really trying to work on in these houses, I'm doing the extended video on my website. You can come back in a couple of days and watch this, and it'll be in the eye icon on the top right corner. You can click that to download on my website for purchase. Okay, so, and I think they're $4.99 if you want the bundle pack, which shows astrology and tarot, then it's like $6.99. All right, my gorgeous ones. So today probably started yesterday. Again, energy does not stop and start. It sort of flows. So you may have felt it on the 5th instead of the 6th, and it depends on where you are in the world. You may feel it today. So from now, probably until the 9th, you have this square going on. And this square this is you, Taurus. You've had Uranus in there, or Uranus. I usually say Uranus, but some people say Uranus. So you have Uranus in your first house. So there have been some abrupt things happening, if you can tell, in the world. Taurus is about, Uranus is about lightning and shaking and moving, and Taurus is very earthy. So, on a global scale, you've seen we've had these volcanoes going on, and we're going to have more of that going on as Uranus is in Taurus. I am doing that Uranus series. So there's been probably some shaking and some moving. Uranus likes to shock and awe, but it likes to shock and awe to liberate you. So there are some things, Taurians, that you know that you want to make decisions about, and maybe you're sort of going back and forth and you've been trying to figure out how you're going to do things, and Uranus will come in there and change that. Like, Uranus will come in there and change that stuff, and it'll feel weird. It'll feel not comfortable because he's trying to liberate you. But after the dust settles and everything clears and you have an understanding, then you understand that you're much better because of this change. So that's going on in your first house. The second house is lit up. Third house, fourth house. The fourth house is what I'm really going to delve into, because this is your north node is in your fourth house. The fourth house I'm going to delve into in that extended video, because the fourth house is it's a complicated house, but it's a deep house, a soul house that I think everybody should understand. So your 7th house is activated. Your 9th house, 10th house, and 11th house are activated. So all of this tells me that those things that you need to make decisions about, those things that you're sort of going back and forth with, those things that you know you want to get to, but you don't want to let go of some things or some situations or some people. And I mean, people do it for all different reasons. Maybe you're doing it because you don't want to hurt somebody. Maybe you're doing it because you know, you're tired and you don't want to look at it. It kind of depends. But whatever's going on, that's what's causing that physical manifestation of the headaches and the heartache and the anxiety and the tummy aches. And that is not going to go away until you communicate this, until you tell your truth. And some of you don't even know what your truth is because you've been doing it another way for so long that, you know, this is what Uranus is about. This is what this second house and third house are about, and this fourth house are about understanding what you want, about understanding who you are, about understanding how you want people in your life and how you want to be treated in your life, right? And as long as you're not telling your truth, I'm not saying the truth, I'm saying your truth. As long as you're not saying what you need to say and living the way you want to live, you're going to keep having these physical manifestations and ailments, right? You're going to keep having this anxiety. So, and I'm not saying it's coming from a bad place, because many of you it's not coming from a bad place. Many of you it's coming because you don't want to hurt somebody, or maybe you don't know how to communicate that well. And so you kind of go with this back and forth, and that's causing you anxiety, and it's causing you headaches, and it's causing you tummy aches. And for some of you, it's causing way more. And so this is what this North Node is about, and this is what Uranus is about. So today, though, until about the 9th, you're going to have the square. The square is in your, so if this is you, this is your 12th and the 11th. The 11th house is social networking. The 7th house is lit up with relationships and boundaries, right? So 7th, 11th, 3rd, communication. This 9th, understanding and belief systems. Of course, there's a lot more to it, and that's what the extended video is about. But this is about dealing with people. This is about dealing with lovers, relationships of all kinds. Your neighbors, your friends, your co-workers, your bosses, your relatives, your siblings, your parents. Like, this is all about that. So this square right here, Neptune being in your 11th house, as Neptune is that sort of illusionary planet. He wants you to see things not so clearly. He wants you to see things in a beautiful way, right? And so the 11th house being your social networking has been, and it's got Pisces in there, has been about seeing your friends and seeing those around you, and really not seeing the practicality of it, right? And so now that it's squared with the Sun and Mercury, the Mercury always brings messages, and this is in your second house. And the Sun brings clarity, right? Well, the second house is about your finance. It's true, it's about your finances, your possessions, but it's also for you guys, because I don't feel like you guys have a problem. I mean, you may feel like you have a problem, but I don't feel like you guys have a problem acquiring your possessions or acquiring finances. You know how to do this. You're an earth sign. You know how to go get an extra job and do what you got to do to get it done, right? Like, you don't have a problem doing that. But what the second house more so is about is what you value, your worthiness, what you're going to allow. And like, if you don't feel or understand that abundance is for you, that peace is for you, that you are valuable, that you are just as valuable as the next person to you, then you may not be receiving things here, or things may not be very clear here, or maybe you're working so hard and you're not attaining some things. This is more about your value system and your worthiness to me. And so with this being squared, this tells me that the Sun and Mercury are trying to clear this up for you, but it's causing you with this Neptune to see things in a different perspective, and maybe not so clearly with the people around you. Does that make sense? Like, maybe you're in a group or your coworkers and you think they see you one way, but they really see you another way. And this could be what the square is going on, because it's going to be a disruption. Whatever this is has to do with social networking groups, but it also has to do with a lot of other things like property and stuff like that. But the sun is trying to clear this up for you, trying to help you understand your worthiness, and Mercury's bringing a message to you. So that's going to be happening over the next couple of days. I don't want to go too deep into that, so, oops, sorry, let me go to the next day. So on the 12th, we have Mercury entering Cancer. So Mercury's going to enter Cancer. This is in your third house. Venus has been there in your third house. Venus brings love, luck, and money, right? But your third house is much more than just the media, entertainment, communication. It could be your websites. Like it has much more to do than that. So when Mercury enters Cancer, you could be dealing with communication with siblings and neighbors and friends and acquaintances and coworkers. Now, when Mercury enters Cancer, for all of us, and this being in your third house especially, for you, Taurus, the third house, when Mercury enters Cancer, it could feel like Mercury retrograde. So there's going to be a lot of miscommunication. There's going to be a lot of things that you take like maybe somebody tells you something and you take it the wrong way. But that's because Cancer, Mercury doesn't behave very well in Cancer. It isn't able to do what it really wants to do in Cancer. Mercury just wants to deliver the message, and it can be very direct in delivering the message. But Cancer doesn't like to direct. Cancer likes kind of like you communicate. Instead of saying what you really want, you'll say what they don't need so that person kind of gets that you don't really want it. And I think you know what I'm talking about. So this is sort of how Mercury is going to be behaving in Cancer. It's going to be a sensitive time for everybody, but especially for you, Taurus, because it's going to feel like Mercury retrograde. You could get some miscommunication somewhere. And it could have to do with your siblings, neighbors, friends, acquaintances, or coworkers, okay? Because it's in your third house, right? Then on the 13th, we have the new moon in Gemini. So the new moon is all about new beginnings, manifestation, seeing where you want to be in the next 30 days, right? And it's in Gemini in your second house. This is the time to see where you want to be. This is the time to say, I need this much money, or I want this much money, or I want the new house, or I want the new car, or I want whatever is valuable to you. Then that's what you want to look into and manifest. I have 2 videos, one on the full moon energy and how to use it, and one on the new moon energy and how to use it. And I'll leave it in the description box down below with the link. So because it's going to be in your second house, you can manifest more money. You can manifest more worthiness. You can manifest that stuff. You just have to work in that energy. And Gemini is a great sign to be able to research, see all sides of a situation, and come to an equal conclusion, right? That's Gemini. So use Gemini's energy and use the full moon energy to manifest what you want. That's what you need to be doing, especially in your second house, because it's about your possessions, your finances, but it's also about your self-worth. And I feel like your self-worth is the real big thing that's going on here. It's the reason you're having these symptoms in your body. It's the reason you're having all this anxiety, because you know what you want to do, but you won't do it. For some of you, and for everybody, you won't do it because, there's different reasons. Because you don't want to hurt them, because you feel bad for them, because you've done this for so long, you don't want to let it go. Like, there are several reasons for several different people. But you kind of know what decision you should be making. And when you see this tarot spread, it also says the same thing. So, that's all I'll say about the new moon. So Mercury on this day also is opposing Saturn. Saturn is in your 9th house. And again, I'll go deeper into what the 9th house means in my extended video. But Saturn has been retrograde in there, making you work really hard on either higher education, property, higher learning, being a mentor or having a mentor, and your belief system and understanding, right? Your philosophy. So it's with Saturn being retrograde there, you've had to rework, amend, edit. Maybe you completed some things, but it's having you work really hard. Pluto's in there too, and Pluto's about control. And Pluto will bring up stuff that you don't want to deal with. That's Pluto. I mean, I don't want to say how I say Pluto is. I'll say it on my other video because this is YouTube. But anyway, Pluto will come and bring stuff up from underneath and have you see it and transform it, because it wants to transform you, but it's about control, right? Well, with it being in your 9th house, this is about understanding that it's not just you in co-creation. So the world that you're creating around you, when you involve other people, then you involve other souls, then you have to work by the laws of the universe, which means everybody has free will, right? And so co-creation is very different than you creating, being a singular creation, right? So co-creation means, but it all kind of works together. You have to think past linear, you have to think beyond linear. Okay, so co-creation, I'll give you an example. And then I'll get past this real quick. But I'll give you an example. If you or anybody is staying with someone because they've been with someone for so long, they don't want to leave them, for whatever reason. I'm not judging, I'm just saying. For whatever reason, but but you know in your heart that's not the love of your life. There's something better. There's something more. There's something, right? Or there's someone. But you won't let go of this person because of fear, because of hurting them, because of whatever, right? So what you don't understand, or what you come to understand with Pluto in here, if we're talking about relationships, is that not only are you keeping yourself from the love of your life, but you're keeping your now partner from the love of his life or her life. And you think, okay, well, I can deal with that, right? But what Pluto helps you understand is that it's not just you two we're talking about. There are 2 other people looking for their loves of their life that they can't find because you two are hooked up. Because you two won't let go. Or because one of you won't let go. Does that make sense? So now, instead of saying just me, my fear, because I don't want to hurt that person, or I have a fear of being alone, or whatever, I'm not only neglecting my heart, but there are 3 other people that are also being neglected as well. Make sense? So that's sort of the lessons that Pluto will bring it up. And Pluto will help you transform in understanding. Okay? And he will bring it up at the most inappropriate times. He's like Uranus. He will bring it up at the most inappropriate times where you're like, oh my God, seriously? That have to happen right now? Pluto kind of makes me mad sometimes. Anyway, so I'm just trying to help you understand. This is what's sort of going on in your house in this belief system. But again, I go into real in depth in these extended videos. And the reason I say this is because Mars is going to retrograde into here, but it's looking at your 4th house. Okay, so your 10th house and your 4th house, your relationships with people. This 7th house is lit up. Jupiter's in there trying to help you understand boundaries, trying to help you understand what you want out of love, how you want people to treat you, what you want out of relationships, and what boundaries you're going to put down, right? Okay, so that's going on. I know I went in too deep, but sorry, I get that way sometimes. Okay, so on the 14th, we have Venus entering Leo. Again, this is in your 4th house. So I'll give you some things about your 4th house. So the 4th house is about your happiness and your fulfillment and your security and your comfort. People think the 2nd house is about that. And although it does have that, its 2nd house is more about the value. So we value these things and make them our possessions. The 4th house is what makes you comfortable. It's what makes you happy, right? And so it's where you ultimately understand that home is where the heart is. It's where you ultimately understand where you are comfortable most, right? And you're an earth sign, so you like opulent, comfortable things around you. That's perfectly fine. That's you. So with the North Node in here, that's what you sort of been working on, understanding, reworking, editing, amending, revising. So when Venus comes in here, Venus wants to bring love, luck, and money. And so when Venus comes in here, whatever you've been working on in this house, Venus, as it gets closer, is going to bring you love, luck, or money. If it's time for you to have the love, then you will. If it's time for you and your love to go to the next phase, then it will. If it's time for you to have more money, then it will. And by the way, nobody's keeping you from your money except for you. And that has to do with your self-worth here in the second house. Okay? So that's going to be happening on the 14th. Then we go into the 18th. So the 18th has Neptune. Sorry, for some of you it's the 18th, for some it's the 19th. Again, it depends on where you live on the earth. So on the 19th, Neptune is retrograding. So Neptune, again, is in your 11th house of social network, 11th house of your persona. It supports your 10th house, which is your persona, your purpose, your life purpose, your career. Not your job, your career. Your job can be your 5th house, but your career is your 10th house, right? Your life purpose, your reputation. So the 11th house supports this house. So this has to do with when it's retrograde, there's going to be some things come up. And again, see how it's trining this Mercury? Remember, it was squaring, and you may get a message where you don't understand, or you maybe take it the wrong way, or maybe you give the message that isn't received in the right way. Maybe you didn't mean it that way, but they took it that way. But that's that square. Now, when Neptune trines Mercury, this is the opportunity to either go back and say, listen, I really meant this, or listen, I'm so sorry you took it that way. This is what I meant. I'm not used to saying how I really feel, and so this is how I meant to say it, and I apologize. Like maybe you do that, or they may come to you and say, you know what, I was having a bad day, I'm so sorry. Like there's an opportunity here, there's a gift here, where Neptune and Mercury are trining, right? And so there's an opportunity here to get the message corrected, or to get the message correctly, right? Now, when Neptune retrogrades, we're talking again, amending, revising, editing, fixing, completing. And so when it goes retrograde, we have it retrograde, we have Neptune retrograde, Pluto retrograde, Saturn retrograde, Jupiter retrograde, the North Node retrograde. So we've got a lot of retrogrades. So this is all about, like, right now, for the next 6 months, it's going to be about resetting the button. Like, right now is the time to go back, let go of the things that no longer serve you, rework the relationships that you're dealing with that maybe are one way and you want to really fix them. Maybe you don't want to get back together with them, but maybe you don't want to end it that way. Now's that time to go revise it. Now's that time to revise your money. Now's that time to revise your investments. Now's that time to revise your relationships with your parents and your siblings and your neighbors and your coworkers. Like, now's that time. So, because this, when I'm looking at this whole sky, this is all about revisions. Okay? So, when it goes retrograde, we're going to be revising. We're going to be looking at things. You're going to see things in a different light with your social networking. That's going to, maybe you see something that you didn't see before that's going to help your career. Maybe there was a group that wanted to help you, but you were like, that doesn't feel right. Maybe you go back and look at it during this revision and you're like, oh, wait a minute, they can help me this way, right? Like maybe they come back around and say, hey, maybe you didn't understand what we really wanted to do for you. Like that's what's going to be going on for you. Okay, now Mars is going to be in your 10th house. So your 10th house, you are going to be having issues when it retrogrades. It's probably already started. But, and again, Taurus, this is not anything that you don't know. These are things that you've known that are coming. You just didn't want to make decisions about it yet. So when it retrogrades, and it's going to retrograde on the 26th, you could have crisis. You could have things that you're adjusting, reworking, letting go of. You could have issues with your boss. You could have issues with father figures. You could have issues with authority figures, right? And again, because it's opposing, look how it's opposing here. It's shadowed right now. It's not retrograde, but it's still sort of, those things are coming up because they're preparing for you when this thing does happen, or these things do happen, because you're going to have to take from the 26th or the 27th of June till August 27th and rework them and adjust them and fix this crisis and amend it. And you're not going to get much from it until September, October. So it's not even going to be completed till September, October. I'm not saying that things won't come in. I'm just saying that it's not going to be finished till September, October. Okay. So that's happening on the 19th. Now on the 21st, the sun enters Cancer. So the sun wants to bring light to Cancer. The sun wants to bring light to your third house. So maybe, and this has to do with your ego. This has to do with things lining up. This has to do with things clearing up. Maybe the communication is clear. Maybe the communication is clear. Mercury's been giving messages. Maybe when the sun comes in here, it clears up some of these messages that you're not understanding, right? So that'll be happening on the 23rd. Sorry, the 24th. On the 23rd. Yeah. So on the 23rd, the sun sextiles Uranus here. And so there's something about the way that you communicate. There's an opportunity here about your first house, so your physicalness, your, this could have to do with procedures or surgeries or maybe nutrition, or you reworking something, because Uranus is in here like changing stuff up. But when it hits the sun and sextiles the sun, there's an opportunity here for something to become clear. Okay, so but what I really want to talk about is on the same day, Venus is squaring your 7th house of Jupiter. So Venus is squaring Jupiter in your 7th house. So again, Venus wants to bring love, luck, and money. Jupiter is in here helping you grow and expand this house and understand about relationships, about boundaries, about relationships with all kinds of with work, with coworkers, with family, with friends, with money, with yourself, with your lovers, with your partners, because this has to do with partnerships. So the square, when Venus wants to bring love, luck, and money, this is a hard aspect. This is not a good aspect. Well, I always think it's a good aspect, but this is a hard aspect. So there could be something that's being cleared up that you kind of knew, because you're pretty intuitive. You kind of knew, but it may sort of jolt you. That's kind of what I'm feeling, especially with this moon here right now. On the 23rd, there's something in this square that's going to cause you to rethink, to understand, to adjust, to amend, because it's retrograde, and because it's retrograde. So there's something that causes you to change a relationship, an understanding, and it kind of depends on where your focus is, but understand that can happen on the 23rd. So on the 27th, this is when Neptune retrogrades. Again, this is going to be in your 11th house of gains. By the end of this, you are going to gain something. So you either gain a stronger social network, you gain money that goes to your 10th house of your career. You're going to gain something at the end of this. But when it goes retrograde, you're going to have to be reworking it. Okay? I'm sorry. Did I say Neptune? Well, Neptune is already retrograde. I meant Mars. So Mars is going to retrograde, and we've already talked about that, in your 10th house. I apologize. I mean, it is retrograde here, but Mars, this is when Mars on the 27th retrogrades in your 10th house. And so you're going to have to be reworking. There's going to be, and it's because it's an Aquarius, it's very different than you've done this before. So remember, Aquarius is very innovative, forward thinking, and just weird, right? So they do things way out of the box. And so maybe you do some things that people aren't understanding in your career. But more so, there's going to be some sort of status, life purpose, or career change that's going to be going on. And some of it could be crisis, but you're going to have to adjust, amend, rework, let go. There could be an argument with the boss, a father figure, or authority figure of some kind. So just mind your P's and Q's. And see, this is what happens, Taurus. This is not all Taurus, but this is a general reading. What happens is you give and you give and you give because you don't want to hurt people, or because you just like to give, or because for whatever reason. But some of you give so much that you get depleted, and then you get upset because people are taking from you. When in reality, you're the one that kept giving. And so when you get upset that you're depleted and people keep taking, you've set the standard and then you blow up, right? And so what you need to, or what you're trying to understand is, how do I give and how do I take? How do I give and how do I receive? Because I like to give, but I don't want people running me dry, right? So you have to learn how to put your boundaries down. And so I see this where Mars, because Mars is a very harsh planet, where Mars can finally, at work, you're like, I've had enough. I've had enough, I've had enough, I've had enough. And you blow up. And you may blow up to your boss. But what's happened is you're the one that's allowed this the whole time, and now you're upset because it's being allowed. And unless you put a boundary down and change it, it's not going to change. But you're already so upset about it because it's been done that way for so long that, that's why it can become a crisis. Okay? So just understand it. If you've always done it this way with this person or your coworker or your boss, you don't have to blow up to get heard. You can say, listen, this is probably my fault because I've allowed this to happen, but I think we should change this to this. There's a way to do this. Mars is going to, that's how you take Mars energy and focus it, because Mars wants to fight. Mars wants war. So, and Taurus, when you get mad, you can get really mad. So you don't want to get that way and lose your career or your job or anything like that, or be in a lot of trouble with this crisis. So and this isn't something you haven't seen coming. This is something you have seen coming. I kind of feel like some of you, this isn't all of you, will just blow up because all of a sudden you feel like the rules should change. When in reality, if you want them to change, that's fine, but you need to let people know, and there's a way to do it. Not wait till you get so upset that you blow up on people, right? Okay, so, and I'm just helping you understand how to work in this energy. There's no judgment. Okay, so on the 28th, we have the full moon in Capricorn. Now, the full moon in Capricorn, this again is in your 9th house of belief systems, understanding. And to me, with Saturn and Pluto there and the full moon, I would use this energy because full moons are about letting go of what no longer serves you. And you realize when you let go of what no longer serves you, all of a sudden things come in. Abundance comes in, relationships come in, new stuff comes in, because what can happen is you have these things and these past traumas and these, even Taurus, it must be really hard because you're carrying the pain of your past, you have pain in your present, and you have this pain of the future that you're carrying all in your present. And it must be very painful. There must be a lot of worry, anxiety, and fear going on. And so it must be hard. So, I know I would want to live that way. So let go of what no longer serves you. Understand why people do the things to you that they do. Why do you do the things that you do? Understand why those people come into your life to help you grow and learn. Because how do you know what you want unless you know what you don't want? Right? Or how do you know what you don't want unless you know what you want? Both ways. We live in a world of duality, but there are boundaries. There are things that you can do. And so use this full moon to let go of that old relationship, or maybe that reset thing that somebody said, because they're used to you being this way and they're used to treating you this way. And so let that go if it no longer serves you. Now, if it's painful and it's still causing you angst, and if it's a boundary, then put a boundary down and then let it go. But you'll have that boundary. So this is what I feel like you'll be working with, this understanding. This is your belief system, and it's very Capricorn. It's going to be expressed in a Capricorn way, which means it's methodical, it's thought out. Capricorn does not make a move until he's looked at the 10 steps ahead, right? And then he'll make his first move. So that's what this is about. And again, I'll have that video. You can look at it and understand how to let go of energy. Okay, so that on the 28th, and again, see this, it's going to oppose the sun, so that's what a new full moon is about. But Saturn is opposing the sun on that day too. But with this opposition with the moon and the sun, there's a T-square here to your Chiron. And so this has to do with hidden enemies, past, present, and future. Things. This is an old wound that you're trying to heal, that you're trying to get through. And I have a Chiron video too that will help you work through that energy, because it's T-squared. It has something to do with that. This Saturn here, this understanding has something to do with this 12th house, Chiron. Okay, so let's look at your tarot. All right. So in your first position, this is you in the month of June. You have the Hanging Man. Now, the Hanging Man is not like, I have to sacrifice. The Hanging Man is self-sacrifice. The Hanging Man is, you see how he can get out of this noose anytime he wants. He's just choosing to be there in the middle. He's choosing to be between these trees, between the left path or the right path. He's choosing to stay in that position. And that's what I feel like you're doing. In the month of June, there are choices that you need to make. And I'm saying for yourself, not for anybody else, so that you can feel better, so that you can get through this stuff, so that you can be happy and peaceful and abundant, right? But you have to get through these choices. And so that's what I feel like that's you in the month of June. This isn't something that's going to surprise you and shock you. I mean, it's going to shock you when it moves, because you have Uranus in there. And so Uranus is going to move something. But when it moves, it's going to shock and awe. But that's because you chose, I'm going to stay in the middle. I'm going to let, I mean, you know, some people have that belief system. I'm going to let God do it. Which, to me, God trusts and loves you so much that he wants you to do it. And he will support you, right? You came here to do it. He's with you to support you because he loves you. But that's just my belief system. So, anyway, as the Hanging Man, you can get out of this position at any time. But I feel like there are decisions, and it's not just one, it's several. Decisions that you know you should make and you're not making, because I'm not saying it's coming from a bad place. For some of you, it's like, I don't want to hurt this person. Or what's going to happen with this if I do this? Or, you know, I mean, there's all kinds of reasons. But understand that you're trying to make yourself be more at peace. You want peace. You want happiness. You want comfort, right? In order to get that, you have to make some of these decisions. So, in your second position, this is your challenge. Your challenge is the Five of Cups. For some of you, you're looking at the wrong thing, or you're looking at it in the wrong way. And hopefully, with what I've said in the astrology, you'll understand that it's not just you. When you think you're not hurting somebody or you're not making a decision, when you think, oh, if I don't make this decision, or if I make this decision, then I won't be hurting people, you'll understand you're keeping them from their growth. You're keeping them from their understanding. So in actuality, you could be. I'm not saying you are. I'm saying that it's a possibility that you could be, because that's how I'm seeing it. I'm seeing that you thinking that you're helping, you're not really helping. You're actually hindering. So with the Five of Cups, that's your challenge, to look at it in a different way. Stop looking at what you don't have, or how you're going to hurt somebody, or what it's going to be, or what it's always been, or da-da-da-da-da. Like, you got to look at what you have, what you know, what you want, what you can do, right? And that will begin to bring the flow in, making the decisions. Now, your fate, destiny, you have the Page of Swords. So you do have news coming, but it's delayed. You can change this. This is your fate and destiny, but we have free will and we can change any of this, right? So, and yeah, that's way too big of a conversation for me to have on this video. But you can change this. So you have news that wants to come in. It is being divinely guided, because I see that this is indigo. I see that this is divinely guided. I see where the birds are bringing the message. I see where they want to bring it, but it's being delayed. It's being delayed because there are some things that you must do for it to come in. There are some choices that you must make for it to come in. Maybe you got to go back and maybe you thought you were going to make one choice, but you got to go back and relook at it. You got to change something. You got to make a choice about something. So in your 4th position, this is what you'll be working through all month long. The Judgment. That is all about making choices. That's all about making the decision. That's all about standing by who you are and what you want. So throughout the month, it looks like this is what's going to be going on. If there are choices that need to be made for your path and you are refusing to make them, I'm not saying this is going to happen for everybody, but Uranus is in your 1st house. And if it's on your path to be made, then it will come and shift it one way or another. All right, my gorgeous ones. Have a wonderful, wonderful month. You can come back in a couple of days and see what's on the icon right here, up there. You can click on that for the extended video. Love you, love you, love you.